Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, January 18th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'm joined on this Monday morning for me, Monday afternoon for you. Over there in the Netherlands, Mr. Big Marcel Dorff, the newest member of the MMA Oddsbreaker staff pick'em. And Marcel, you got a real fun introduction to it. It was a crazy card. And man, like the card in the weekend was it was a great way to kick off the year, Marcel. I just want to get right into it. Just an incredible card. How was your weekend, man? I'm sure you enjoyed the UFC being back.
Yeah, weekend was good, man. I mean, some fun MMA cards. UFC was good. Before that, I watched a little bit of Brave. I didn't watch everything because it overlapped each other. The final of the Brave and the start of the UFC. I haven't watched LFA yet because I had to work the day after and can't stay awake till 6 a.m. if I have to work the day after. But yeah, some fun stuff. Also, my team won on Sunday, my favorite team. So good weekend, man.
Who's your favorite team? My weekend was good. Who's your favorite team, though?
My favorite team, Ajax from Amsterdam. It's soccer for you
football?
guys.
Yeah,
football, yeah.
Football, right? Okay, cool. Fair enough. Yeah. You know, one of your things, Marcel, you always do this. Might as well just stick to tradition here. We had a fighter pass away in the weekend, so before we actually talk about the fights, we should give some respect to the man known as Paul the Polar Bear Varelans. Passed away, age 57, Marcel, due to COVID-19. I'm just going to pull the article up. Just give me a second here. But, man, just really sad news. You know, not that old, 51 years old, and passes away. I'm just going to pull up the article for this works. Yeah. So wrote this yesterday, and it's just terrible. It's really sad. And, you know, he was a guy that had many fights in the UFC. He had like, I think 5 or 6 fights, maybe 7 fights, actually. Not a ton of success by any means, but a pioneer of the sport. You know, I wouldn't call him a legend, Marcel, but I would call him a pioneer because he was one of those guys that like helped create the sport in the early days. And, you know, if you go back and watch this card, he beats this guy, Cal Worsham, and then he loses to Tank Abbott. I mean, he was fighting legends. His most famous performance was probably UFC 7. He went to the finals and lost to Marcos, the king of the streets, Ruiz, in the finals. So any thoughts on Paul the Polar Bear Varelans, former UFC fighter, former rings fighter, former Valetudo, and former ECW? Actually did a little bit of professional wrestling back in the day as well. What are your thoughts, Marcel?
Yes, actually, we used the same video in our article. You for your website, I for my website.
I didn't see your article, but I believe you.
So, yeah, I mean, he's one of those pioneers from the early UFC days, you know. He was a big guy, like over 6 feet. What was it? 6 feet 8 inches tall.
I think 6'8", 300 pounds, like bigger than us. Yeah.
Huge. I mean, I remember him in the tournament fights where he fought against Tank Abbott. Like you said, he fought against Marco Ruas in the final back then. He has also a fight against Igor Vovchanchyn, another legendary Pride fighter was he. And his last 2 fights were against Dutch fighters, man. He won against Dick Fry, and then he lost to Joop Castile, who was a replacement for Dick Fry. They wanted to do the rematch back then. So, yeah, man, it's just sad, you know. 51 years of age is not really old, and man, it sucks. And yeah, I wish his family, and his friends all the best, of course, and my condolences, man.
Yeah, it's sad. You know what's really sad, Marcel? He actually messaged me on like LinkedIn maybe 6 months ago. He actually messaged Tom too from BJ Penn. He just said like, "Hey guys, how's it going? Like, I have a story to tell. I want to tell my story to someone." And you know, we're not really in at BJ Penn. We're more into like current news, not really like interviewing older guys. But it was something I was interested in personally. I just never got a chance to do it. Now I never will. So that's the sad part when this guy dies. You know, because his history's gone with him now. Now he can't tell those stories. And I think he had a lot of stories to tell us. So it's really sad to hear that. But, you know, we just wanted to show our respect to Mr. Paul Varelans. And the other thing I'll say is, I don't want to get political here by any means, but I posted the article and some of the comments are very disgusting in the Facebook saying, you know, COVID deniers and stuff like that. Like, the guy died from COVID-19. That's how he passed away. So, you know, if you have your political issues and opinions about COVID and lockdown stuff, keep it to yourself. You know, show some respect to the guy. He passed away. His family doesn't need that BS. And honestly, Marcel, it really just bothers me when people show disrespect to the dead. Like, these people lived, they died, they're gone. Show some respect. Anyways,
by the way, never understand that, man. Why people have to talk crap on the on whatever on dead people and MMA fighters in general, man. I never understand that. I mean, yeah. Also, people like, yeah, I didn't know him. You don't have to share that comment if you didn't know him. You can just scroll. You don't have to reply. Sometimes I see a name as like, I don't remember that guy, but then I'm gonna read us like, oh, that guy. And even sometimes if you read and you don't know the guy, you don't have to say like, oh, I didn't know him. This is just weird.
No, I agree. People are just dicks. Anyway, let's get into the bread of today's show, the bread and butter, I should say. Okay, so UFC on ABC 1. Now, before we actually talk about the card, I want to talk about Dana's announcement. Okay, let's just talk about that first before we get into the fights. Worst announcement ever. It has to be like one of the worst, like biggest letdowns. The announcement was basically watch the card watch our pay-per-view next week, and then you'll find out what the announcement is. Like, complete garbage. I'm not saying it was Dana's fault because I don't know if he really expected to say that. But when he went and he was so cocky to the media last week, Marcel, saying, I'm going to know in 5 minutes. We'll have a yes or no answer. We don't know yet. We're going to have to wait another week at least. What were your thoughts on this announcement that left a lot of fans disappointed?
Just a stupid announcement. Also, they let us wait an extra fight for it, man. I mean, what the hell? I mean, it's just stupid. We were listen. The only thing what I expected was either Khabib comes back, or they're making Poirier against McGregor for a title fight, and Khabib doesn't come back. That's what everybody pretty much expected, I think. So to say he pretty much didn't say anything. He said if Khabib sees something good, he maybe comes back. Imagine Conor McGregor knocks out Dustin Poirier in the first round, and then Dana's like, "Did you saw that, Khabib?" And Khabib's like, "Yeah, I'm not really interested. I don't think Poirier showed up, and I didn't saw anything different in Conor. I'm not coming back." So I mean, it doesn't say anything, man. He can listen. Poirier can knock out McGregor, for example, or Chandler can knock out Hooker. And then Khabib is like, yeah, but I don't see anything in those fights.
Absolutely. So I guess
that's stupid.
It's going to be his choice. He's going to basically pick from the winner of those two fights and then Oliveira, who he's mentioned. I just can't see him fighting Oliveira in the last fight of his career. Like, I just don't think that'd be the fight he wants to get to 30-0. Mm-hmm. The more interesting thing, I think, Marcel, not the Conor Poirier thing, more the GSP thing, because Dana White says he doesn't want to fight him now, and that fight's over. Where did this come from? Every interview we've heard from Khabib for the last couple of years is, we want to fight GSP. Even when his father passed away, he still mentioned interest in that fight. Last week, GSP spoke to the Canadian media. He said, I'm really interested in that fight. It excites me. We have to make sure the weight class is correct. He was talking about how Khabib is a master weight cutter at 155 and how he doesn't think he could make it. That's what GSP said last week in Canada here, right? A couple of days later, and Dana White's like, nah, that fight's not happening. That fight's over. Do you believe him? Do you think he's lying about that? It just doesn't make sense that all of a sudden that fight's not happening.
Do you really ask me if I believe Dana White? I mean, which MMA fan, MMA journalist who's been in the game for years believes Dana White? Yeah. It's like nobody. I mean, yeah, I don't want to call somebody a liar, but he lies all the time. So, I mean, if Khabib says it on camera, I believe it. If Dana says it, I just want to hear Khabib's story about it. But, yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, and apparently Khabib's going to Vegas, I think, next week after 257 to meet with Dana again. And honestly, I'm not convinced that's really going to be about this. I think it's going to be more about his fight, the promotion he has, Eagle Fighting Championships on Fight Pass. I feel like it's going to be about that. I don't really know if it's going to be about him coming back. Honestly, go ahead.
Do you know if somebody got signed from the UA Warriors card?
Don't know yet, but the guy who knocked out Eric Spicely should get signed, I think.
Yeah.
He's 20-2 now. I can't remember his name. But he's 22, Marcel, and he's on a 14-fight win streak. I did the article. That was devastating. That was like Dan Henderson against Bisping. That reminded me just like that massive overhand right. And what was the other guy that won, the big name? Who was it?
Safarov, who was always in Khabib's corner.
And maybe he'll come to the UFC, you think? You think he'll get signed?
Yeah, I think he was the main event, right? Or the
exactly, yeah. So I think they'll bring a few guys in. But anyways, we'll get to the card now. The last thing I want to say about the whole Khabib thing is, I'd love to see him fight again. I'd love to see him fight GSP. Mm-hmm. I personally don't really have any interest in either the Conor or Poirier fights. We've seen those fights. Khabib took them down, beat them up on the ground. I just can't see those fights changing, really. I don't see why Khabib's grappling advantage is going to go away. I think he'd beat them both again. Oliveira, to me, is more interesting just because he can submit him, right? He's got the best ground game in UFC history, submission-wise anyways. Record for submissions. What were we going to say?
I mean, if he gets that hold that Poirier had on Khabib, I mean, that would be
right? Like, Poirier goes to the gilly all the time. He calls it jumping the gilly. It's funny, right? Because, he does it in every fight. But how many has he really even got, Marcel? Like, how many guillotines does Poirier have? Like maybe 1 or 2 in his career, not very many. Whereas Charles Oliveira's got tons of them, right? And tons of rear naked chokes, arm bars, everything. I personally would rather see him fight very well. But if you're Khabib, he's not. Is he really that big name where you're going to sell pay-per-view? I'm not sure. That's why I thought the GSP fight made sense, but apparently Dana said it's not happening. Take this comment from Marcus. Hey, Marcus. I wish Charles Oliveira took the Chandler fight. I think he would have got good performance against Chandler, put himself in a good position to fight Khabib. The thing is, and he wants to see Khabib Oliveira. The thing is, I agree with you, that would have been a fun fight, but Charles Oliveira's won 8 straight fights. He just beat Tony Ferguson. Why should he fight on 2 weeks' notice against Michael Chandler and cut all that weight, Marcel? I don't think that's right for him. I think he made the right call turning the fight down. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Actually, listen, man, Marcus, I like the fight as well, but it really doesn't make sense, man. And I honestly think it was disrespectful by Dana White saying that he turned that down because he shouldn't have to get that fight in the first place, in my opinion. I think Oliveira did enough to earn a title shot already, to be honest. So they're not going to give it to him, but he does. So does it make sense to fight a Chandler who comes from Bellator, still has to show in the UFC he is worthy of the chances he's getting right now. So I like the Hooker fight. I would like the Hooker or the Felder fight for Chandler. So yeah, let's see if he can get the win in that fight on Saturday.
And I really like Michael Chandler, but it's like, he hasn't even fought in the UFC yet. Why is he even in this discussion? Like, honestly,
Yeah, but the UFC created that, man, with giving him as a backup for.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And then people started elevating him a little bit higher. Like, I think he's really good. I think he could do well in the UFC, but to me, like, he doesn't even have one win in the UFC yet. So like, at least get a win first before he starts. Getting guys like Oliveira, because Oliveira, why should he fight a guy who's never fought in the UFC and risk his 8-fight win streak? I wouldn't do it either.
You know what funny was to me back then when Michael Chandler said like he was a huge Khabib fan and he watching him for a long time, and then Islam Makhachev calls him out and he's like, I don't know this guy, who is this? It's like, dude, if you're a huge Khabib fan, you know who Islam is as well. But
I actually, I really like Michael, and he did an AMA in the weekend on his Instagram, like half an hour. He actually had fans come on the screen with him and talk to fans. Like, it was pretty cool. Yeah. And he did the Khabib thing again. He said Khabib's the greatest fighter of all time. I want to fight him, but it's going to be up to him. All right, let's get to the card now, Marcel. Enough for this. There was no announcement. We still spent 5 minutes talking about nothing. We just talked about air for 5 minutes. Dana White is hot air. Okay, let's talk about this card now. Marcel's part of the staff picks now at MMA Oddsbreaker for this year. I went 6-4, and you went 5-5. Is that right? 5-5.
Yeah. Just don't act like you didn't know you did better than me.
I'm really not, because honestly, like, I'm so disappointed. Like, you know what the thing was when I was picking this card? I was like, okay, I'm picking all the favorites on the main card. Someone's going to pick up an upset. I just didn't know who it was going to be. I really didn't think most of these guys would. Like, I didn't think Buckley would lose. We'll talk about him in a second, but I was hoping for a better night. I will say this though, I didn't see too many people have like really, really good nights. It was a pretty tough card. There was like 4 or 5 upsets, right? Like half the card was upset. So, and there were big favorites that lost too, Marcel. So it was a very surprising card. Now let's talk about the main event. Work our way down as we usually do here for the recaps. Okay, so this main event was a crazy fight. Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. Max Holloway wins 50-43, 50-43, 50-42. I scored at 50-42. I had a 10-8 round. I also had a 10-7 round. I think it was the 3rd or 4th round. I can't remember what round it was. 10-7. How'd you score it?
10-9, 10-8, 10-9, 10-7, 10-9.
So we had the same score. Me and you had 42.
Exactly.
Perfect. Glad to hear that. I think that's a fair scorecard. I will say this, though. That fight should have been stopped well before the fight ended. I was screaming at the TV, man. Like, I don't like seeing guys get hurt like that because, Tyson Chartier, his manager, posted an update. Broken nose, multiple fractures. He's got cuts in his head. He's got to get stitched up. Like, he got the shit kicked out of him. Like, we've never seen – that was the worst beating in UFC history, not even close. Max Holloway, like, he destroyed the record book, basically. The former previous record for significant strikes landed in the fight, 5-round fight, 290 significant strikes, which is insane anyways. He landed 445 significant strikes. 445! That's insane. He threw over 700 significant strikes, Marcel. That's insane. We've never seen a performance like this. After seeing, like, that was to me the kind of performance that you wonder, like, someone at the press conference was like, can we see him fight Khabib? They were supposed to make that fight. That's the kind of guy that could beat Khabib. That version of Max could beat anyone in the world. Marcel, that was the best performance he's ever had, in my opinion. I've never seen a beating like that in UFC. Give me your thoughts on the performance. What do you think of the stoppage? Should have been stopped sooner?
Performance was obviously good, man. I mean, what can we say about it, right? You say everything, but yeah. Listen, man. I look kind of different than most fans, I think, to fights, and you as well, because I was talking to some of my other colleagues at MMA DNA on the chat and to other ones as well, and some of them were like, yeah, that could have been stopped earlier, but some was like, yeah, you're not going to stop a fight like this right now. It's amazing. Look at how Kattar does. It's the toughness. I was like, yeah, but if you're he got destroyed. Let's be honest, man. All respect to Tyson Chartier, Calvin Kattar, and the whole New England cartel, but he got destroyed, man. Let's be honest. It should have been stopped. And I don't understand Herb Dean as well, man. He at a certain moment, that 10-7 round, when he was loading up on him on the cage, yeah, exactly. I mean, that was a perfect time to stop the fight. Nobody would have complained about that, And he does. Listen, man. Herb Dean, for years, the best referee, last 2-3 years, just a really weird decision sometimes. But let's keep that up. I didn't like the stop. I did like to see the fight stopped, but it didn't. He was just too tough for his own good, man, Calvin Kattar. And that's why it's probably the biggest beating in UFC history, because most of the fighters would have been out in the second or third round if Max put that on them, for example. And he wasn't. He kept going. For longevity is so bad, man. I mean, I think the coach, I don't want to criticize Tyson Chartier because he's a really good person, always nice to everybody. But I think he should have thrown the towel or should have stopped that fight if Herb Dean didn't do it, because for a fighter, longevity it's just not good, man. I mean, this fight can take 1 or 2 years from your career, in my opinion. So, but yeah, people will say you are not a fighter, so you don't know. But I understand. But sometimes you got to make a choice for someone if he doesn't want to stop himself, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, me and Marcel watch fights for a living. I mean, a lot of you guys are listening right now. You watch fights every weekend and you love it too, right? So we've seen fights that go on too long. We've seen the damage that it causes later on in a guy's life. Look, it's just funny how this happens the same week the Spencer Fisher article came out where he talked about brain trauma. And that was like a discussion this week. The UFC donated $1 million to the Cleveland Clinic for brain studies. And then you see a fight like this, and it's like at odds with what they're promoting. They're promoting the health and safety of the fighters. How is there any safety regarded at all for Tyson or for Calvin Kattar? I do blame his coach, Tyson Chartier. Seems like a nice guy, fair enough. But in this fight, he didn't save his fighter, Marcel. The coach and also the ref. The ref was there too. The ref just saved him too. The doctor could have stopped the fight. Like, there's lots of people that could have stopped the fight, Marcel. It bothers me seeing a guy take that much damage because I don't think he'll ever be the same. I really don't. Diego Sanchez actually was the one tweeting saying his soul's been taken. Like, his soul, he says, my soul's been raped hundreds of times in the cage. Now Calvin Kattar says he'll never be the same. I agree. I don't think we'll ever see the same guy. Some people have said, okay, well, look at Brian Ortega. He fought Max Holloway and got the shit kicked out of him and came back and looked better 2 years later. Fair enough. That doesn't mean the same thing's going to happen to Calvin. I will say Calvin's also older than Brian Ortega. He's 32 years old, Marcel. So, to me, this was the big fight he needed to win to really make a statement in his career that, hey, I'm a serious contender. He didn't win it. Now we know that Calvin's he's not an elite guy. He's not. I really like watching a fight. He is not a top 5 guy. He's a top 10 guy, but he's not a top 5 guy or top 3 guy, I should say. I think he's really good, but I just really worry about his future, man. Like, the fact he hasn't really posted much since the fight he was sent to the hospital worries me, Marcel. Like, how much damage did he take in this fight? Like, what's it going to look like in 20 years? How is this fight going to impact his brain, his life? Now, I get it. These guys sign up. They know what they're doing. They're professional prize fighters. I get that. But we do have these checks and balances in place to save these guys. That's why we have a corner. That's why they have a towel to throw in. That's why we have a ref that can stop the fight. I just feel like these guys let him down. It reminded me of 2 fights that happened last year, Anthony Smith and Glover Teixeira, which was a finish. And as far as decision goes, the fight that I thought of right away, Marcel, Amanda Nunes and Felicia Spencer, where the 4th round, you knew it was done. She had no chance to win, and they still sent her out there to take a beating. I think this fight should have been stopped after the 3rd or 4th round. Now, as far as the performance by Max goes, it was insane. I've never seen a performance like that. I think they should just honestly take Ortega out of that fight and just give Holloway the title fight. I don't see why we need to see Ortega fight for the belt. Max Holloway is clearly the best featherweight in the world. to me, this was like an unofficial title defense. Now the guy who he destroyed 2 years ago gets to fight for the belt while he has to wait another 6 months, even though the judges robbed him in his last fight. It seems messed up. So I know they're not going to change it now. Volkanovski is fighting Ortega at UFC 260 March 27th, which actually you broke, Marcel, like a few weeks ago on the podcast. You're the one who mentioned that. I'd just rather see Max fight for the belt, but I guess he'll fight the winner. You'll have to wait till the end of the year probably. To me, Marcel, like he's the best featherweight in the world. What do you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, but you can't break that fight now. Now they have booked it. That's a sucky thing, man, because that fight got official like 6 hours before the card started. So, I mean, you know, I think they would have changed it, man. Honestly, if they decided after this fight. But by the way, how good is Volkanovski, man? If he didn't, if Max lost clearly to him in the first fight, I think I had a 4-1 or 5-5. Yeah. But the second fight, I scored a 3-2 for Holloway. Don't agree with you that it was really a robbery because I think it was a close fight, but I can see it because many people say it was a robbery. I think it was close, but I favored Max in that fight as well. So it's pretty hard, man. You know, for Max it's tough because if you show a performance like this and you pretty much get on the wrong side of a judge's decision in the fight before, in the title fight, and now you have to wait on the guy who you clearly defeat. You know, is going to fight for a title now. But Ortega also did a very good fight against the Korean Zombie, so I don't really have a problem with it. I don't know, man, but maybe let's hope the winner of the fight from Volkanovski Ortega comes out pretty clean, you know, with no damage, and maybe he can fight Max. Maybe an international fight week, man. We never know. You
know what's crazy? Zabit's going to have to keep waiting. He's going to have to wait another year probably now. Like, he's going to never get a title shot, man. He doesn't fight either.
And people blaming Zabit for that, right?
It's not his fault he got pulled out, or the Yair thing keeps happening. That's not his fault. He hasn't actually pulled out of that fight. Yair's pulled out, I think, 2 or 3 times now, because they tried to book it a few years ago for the Woodley Till card. And so they tried to make that fight for years now. But I just think Zabit's a guy that last year or 2 years ago, actually, when he beat Calvin Kattar, November, I think, 2019, that he could have got a title shot then. He hasn't fought since then. And now Calvin's probably like stock's even higher than anything. What are you going to say?
Didn't Jair tweet it last Saturday? Like,
Jair said it wasn't impressed.
I was like, shut up.
I know, he's such an idiot. He later said he was joking. I don't really think he was, honestly. He's just like, I'm not impressed. People were like, you should see the comments. People are like, dude, you're so irrelevant right now. Like, you don't fight, man. You don't even tell USADA where you are. Like,
I mean, I was like, the only thing you could do was just don't say anything, and you say anything. I'm just like, it's not smart, you know.
I really like Yair as a fighter. I just think
me too.
The comments were so stupid. Like, they really were. Okay, so co-main event. Unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about main event, you're good. Okay, co-main event. Carlos Condit defeats Matt Brown, unanimous decision. I thought Condit would win this fight. I've always liked him in this matchup. They've tried to book it a few times. I thought it was 29-28 for Condit, though. I would give the first round to Matt Brown for sure. He's pissed off. He went on his Twitter and he was yelling at the judges. But he's not saying he won the fight. He's just saying that he should have won the first round, which I agree with. It was a pretty clear fight to score, in my opinion. Pretty easy to score. Matt Brown, round 1. Round 2 and round 3, Carlos Condit 10-9 each. And 29-28. What do you think of this fight? I thought it was a pretty good fight.
It was a fun fight, man. 2 scrappy veterans did very well. Actually, a better fight than I expected, to be honest. It was a good fight. I agree with you. First round was to Matt Brown. Second, third was to for Condit. Now, I understand Brown, man. I mean, if you win 1 round, you should get 1 round. 29-28 still looks better than 30-27. 30-27 looks like you got pretty easily dominated, which is not always the case with 30-27. You can have a close fight with 30-27. But I understand how it looked, and it was 29-28. Good win for Condit, man. Second win in a row. I don't think he had back-to-back wins since 2013 or something, so it's a long time ago.
Yep.
For Brown, yeah, I mean, you see, he still has the will to fight. He's getting older, you know, but he's still game. So it was a fun fight. The right guy won.
Yeah.
I mean, not much more to add than that. I enjoyed a good scrap between 2 veterans and very respective people.
The only thing I'll ask you is Carlos Condit's. That was his last fight of his contract. Now Dana White said they have interest in re-signing him, so I think he'll be back.
Yeah.
But do you think he's going to test the market? Do you think he's going to go see what PFL, Bellator offer him, or do you think he'll just go to the UFC right away? What do you think?
I think he stays in the UFC, man.
Yeah.
I think he's at home in the UFC, and I mean, Bellator, I don't know. PFL is maybe interesting because it's a tournament. You know, you can win $1 million by qualifying for quarterfinal, semifinal, and then the final. So you pretty much have to get enough points in 2 fights and then win 3 to get the $1 million. That would be interesting, but other than that, I think he remains in the UFC.
Yeah, and there's probably better fights for him in the UFC against guys like Matt Brown, who are like aging veterans. Matt Brown, by the way, posted a picture last night on his Instagram. He's already back in the gym. He's like the work never stops, basically. So the guy's a complete savage at age 40. He's still doing really good, I think. Even though he's lost 2 straight fights, no shame in losing to Miguel Baeza and Carlos Condit at all.
And also the way how.
Exactly. This fight was close. I mean, the Baeza fight, he got knocked out, but it was actually a competitive fight until he got KO'd. I think he dropped him at some point. So I think he's still got a little bit left to take, Marcel, but there's no doubt he's on the way down. There's no doubt about it.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So this next fight, I mean, this was wow. You know, the thing is in MMA, right? Layoffs are huge. Layoffs, guys, when they come away from 2.5 years, Marcel, 3 years, it's very hard to win. You've seen a few guys win over the years, like Dominic Cruz when he beat Mitsugaki, GSP when he beat Bisping, Ortega when he beat Korean Zombie. But generally, Marcel, when a guy's off that long, they don't look good. That was the case here. Santiago Ponzinibbio gets absolutely destroyed by Li Jingliang, first round knockout. Huge left hook from Li Jingliang, and the Leech, Marcel, he continues his crazy knockout streak. I mean, this guy, you know, he's got an incredible amount of power in his hands. He really does. He is one of the biggest knockout artists at 170, a very underrated guy. I'm still surprised he won the fight the way he did, though. I gotta be honest. Like, I really thought Ponzinibbio, all the interviews, everything I heard, you know, I'm training at ATT, I'm training with the best guys in the world, I'm going to show a great performance here. He just left his hands down, his chin was right out, he got caught, Marcel. It is what it is. But at this point in his career, age 34, he hasn't fought in forever. I don't know if I can consider him a top contender anymore. And I think this loss to Jingliang kind of shows that Ponzinibbio, he had a chance 2 years ago, Marcel, to really make a run at the ladder. I don't think he's going to do it anymore. What do you think?
Yeah, man, me neither. I think he should have won this fight. This was a fight for him to win. I mean, man, Li Jingliang, he should have sent his Li Jingliang to the U.S. when he fights in the U.S., man. I mean, outside the U.S., he always sends himself, and inside the U.S., he always sends his twin brother. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, he looked very good in the fight. I didn't expect it, to be honest. It was a short notice fight for him as well. So, yeah, really promising. You know what was funny, man? At the weigh-in, Santiago Ponzinibbio had that canvas with him with Diego Maradona on it. Who passed away recently, and they both held that. And Dana was looking like, "Oh my God, I hope this is not some political statement or whatever was on that." I think he had no idea who that was. You know?
Oh, that's funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually not a bad fighter though, Jingliang. Actually, I'm looking at his record now. Like it's good. You know, he's got 10 wins and 4 losses in the UFC. That's pretty solid. And actually, I thought you were onto something there, but I just looked at the stats. I'm such a nerd. I did this in my head. 7-3 as outside the States. In the States, 3-1. Surprisingly, 3-1 in the States, Marcel. So I thought it would be worse than that, but the guy is he's got some power. Jamie Gidley, what's up, guys? Hey, man. Good morning. Let's go to the next fight here, Marcel. It would be Alessio Di Chirico knocking out Joaquin Buckley, and then. Okay, so, I mean, this was crazy, too. I didn't think this would happen. You know, guys coming off a 3-fight losing streak. It's clear that the UFC was like, you're going to get knocked out by Buckley. He's going to add to his highlight reel. That's what they wanted, Marcel. They really did want that. After Zach Cummings dropped to Chirico, I think the UFC matchmakers were like, this guy's chin is cracked now. He can get KO'd. He turns out to be the one who knocks out Buckley. Afterwards says, I don't want to do an interview. The loser should get interviewed instead, or he should get interviewed as well. They both should. And then later on, Dana White said he saw him backstage, and this guy, him and the Italians, they were apparently very not so warm with Dana White. He said you guys got the 50,000, and Alessio didn't want to talk to him. He got the bonus. Later on, he sent a video thanking Dana White. That was really weird, though, Marcel. I got to be honest. Like, you think the guy scored the best knockout of his life, he would have been a little bit happier. The thing is, I think he was like, you know, screw these matchmakers. They wanted me cut. They wanted me to lose and get cut.
Exactly.
So I think he had a chip on his shoulder. What do you think?
I think that's exactly the case, man. I think he also thought that they brought him in to lose against Joaquin Buckley, but the language barrier is still there for him in English, so he doesn't really know how to express himself with that, I think. So that's why he didn't say it like that. But I think it's definitely what he thought, man, and that's what many of us thought, you know. But what I said, I don't know if I said it to you. He actually should have won the fight against Kevin Holland, in my opinion, and the Muradov fight was close as well. You know, he only got cracked by Zach Cummings in the last second of that fight. He lost that with 29-28, but it was also a close fight. But Cummings just put that exclamation point on in the third round. I mean, I didn't expect him to get the knockout. Obviously, I thought he could have won the fight via decision, but not via knockout. I picked Buckley to win the fight as well. But man, actually, it's cool. You know, I mean, Buckley was already looking past him. He's like, after this fight, I'm going to call out a ranked opponent, and I was like, not a smart thing to say when you still have to beat the opponent who's in front of you. And clearly, plus. You saw that it's always bad karma, man, when you don't do a fist touch at the beginning of the fight, you know. So that's
go ahead. Yeah, the thing about Buckley is, you know, I like him. Obviously, we all do. We saw the knockouts last year, Wright and Kasangane. He's 2-2 down the UFC with 2 knockout losses too. Holland and Di Chirico knocked him out. He's not as good as we thought. I think this is a guy that probably should drop a weight class. Like, I'm thinking he should go to welterweight. I think he's fought there before. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, maybe that's the decision he's going to make. Because to me, it's clear he's not a contender at middleweight. Like, he's lost to Holland and Di Chirico now the last 6 months. Been knocked out twice in 6 months. So everyone's talking about his knockout over Kasangane and Wright, and fair enough, they were great knockouts. But you know, this is a guy who's also getting KO'd. I don't really know what to say about Buckley. He's only 26, so he's still really young. But I mean, he's got some holes in his game. He's been knocked out 3 times in his career, actually, in 16 fights. That's a lot of knockout losses actually for a young guy. So. He's a guy that, from what we've seen, I don't think his chin's that great, man, honestly. I know he got caught that kick. That probably would have leveled anyone. I get it, Marcel, but he got – and also, what was he even doing? He was, like, bent down, his arm was like this. It was so weird. It was like, here, kick me in the chin. Like, I didn't understand what he was doing. Was he going for a takedown? What was he doing? I really don't get it.
I also think that it was he didn't really, I don't know, not in a personal way, but as a fighter, I don't think he really respected Alessio Di Chirico.
That's a great point.
I mean, also the lead up, the UFC was very high. Of course, on Buckley, they showed that KO against Impa like 2,000 times. I mean, at a certain moment when you get all that hype behind you and you get all that praise behind you, you starting to believe that you are really much better than you actually are, I think. Alessio Di Chirico got clearly brought in to lose to Joaquin Buckley. And Alessio Di Chirico, man, credits to him, man. He pretty much had his career on the line, his UFC career on the line in that fight. And if you can come out like that and knock out somebody with a head kick, where the head kick was famous for that head kick knockout. You know, you head kick him. It's pretty much like that's not comparable, but it's like Gonzaga Cruz.
I was just gonna say, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, so, you knocked him out with his own move, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the guy's he's still got some talent. Obviously, he's got the KO power, he's got the flash, but I just think we've seen enough now to know that he's not as good as we thought, man. He also had some losses in Bellator too. Like he wasn't an undefeated prospect. His first loss, he's lost 4 times. Anyways, Daniel, I would say, man, let me get the comment first. Yeah. Consistent theme with these lower level guys, untested guys being hyped and finished, like Strickland finishing Brennan out. Yeah, I really like Sean Strickland, by the way. What were you going to say, Marcel? Last thing?
We can also quit the talks that James Cross was
backing out of
the fight because he was scared. Complete bullshit.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I would have liked to see that fight. I think we're not going to see it anymore, but you know, it's kind of weird they didn't push that harder because, you know, there still was a lot of bad blood, but, you know, they didn't want to do that, and it is what it is. Okay, so last fight in the main card. Oh, man. Punahele Soriano. I picked Dusko. I don't know who'd you pick in this one? Dusko?
Puna.
Oh, you picked Puna. Nice job. Yeah, this one was pretty close, I think, to me. I just thought Dusko would be able to take him down easy, and he didn't even try a takedown. He basically stood there with his hands at his waist, his chin right up in the air, and got destroyed for like 4 minutes until he got KO'd. I think Puna knocked him down 2 or 3 times. Dusko has no striking defense whatsoever. So probably the worst striking defense I've seen in a long time. I thought he was better than this, man. He's clearly not ready for a guy like Soriano, who looks like he's a serious contender now. I think he's, 3-0 now in the UFC? He's good, man. I was at his fight when he fought Oscar Pachota and knocked him out in Vegas. The guy's got serious power in his hands. And the way he knocked Dusko down, he had that long straight left right down the pipe, knocked him down a couple times. What do you think of his performance, man, Puna?
Yeah, man. Puna looked good, man. He got now 2 finishes, man. First his debut against Pihoda, and now this one, very good. I mean, both were undefeated prospects. I like Puna. I saw him in the regional scene as well. He got that nasty power, you know.
Yep.
And Todorovic, or how I call him, Stefano Struvovic. He's like the smaller.
Yeah, he kind of
brother.
looks like him. He actually does look like him.
Yeah. So, man, Todorovic, he's like you said, man. If he had to win this fight, he probably would have taken it to the ground, but he didn't get the chance. Pretty much, Puna was just on point, you know. And man, listen, man. Remember when he was tagged, and then that mouthpiece fought. What do you say that? Flew out in the almost under the octagon. I was stuck. I was like, "Come on, man, not again."
We saw it like a few months ago, like the first time ever, and then it happens a few months later. It's so weird. Right?
Yeah,
I can't remember what the other fight was now. Do you remember what fight it was?
Yeah. God.
Was it on Fight Island or was it Vegas? It was in Vegas actually. Mark Smith was the ref. I think he pulled it out of the cage. If I'm not mistaken.
But fight again, man. Oh, that was I know who that was. That was. Oh God, let me think about it. I know it. I have it on the top of my tongue, but I don't.
I know. Okay, I got to Google it. Okay, Reach the Key. That's who it was.
Reach the Key.
Alex Corono. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, why don't you have a backup mouth?
I know that they were like, "Oh, grab it. We don't have one." Like when I used to train, I don't train anymore, but I did. I had a custom mouthpiece. I went to my dentist. So it was like, I want a mouthpiece. Some of these guys don't even do that. Like they're professional athletes. They get a boil and bite one, a cheap one. Like I spent money on one because I didn't want to lose my teeth, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And not only that, but like they should have 2. They should always have backup because we've seen it happen. I thought you were supposed to have 2, like you at least in the back. Maybe they just didn't have it on them. But either way,
I mean,
go ahead.
If I was Todorovic and the ref gave me the mouthpiece, I would say rinse it.
I know that's pretty nasty. Like what's under there and stuff.
No, but I mean to get more time, you know.
And that too. Yeah. I know, but man, imagine being buried in that side of that octagon. It's fucking gross there. Man.
Yeah,
really nasty. And not saying it's any worse than the blood and stuff that's on the actual octagon when they drop it and they pick it right up. Like I would ask for a quick rinse personally, but then again, you're punching a guy in the face. So I mean, really, like what's worse, right? Putting something in your mouth or getting hit in the head. Edward says Puna versus Alessio. Sure. I mean, I'd watch that fight. Also, I don't know if Alessio would probably be pissed off with the match figures again. Also, I said Puna was 3-0. I meant to say 2-0 because the one fight was on Contender Series against Jamie Pickett, I think. So let's go to the prelims, Marcel. We'll go through it a little bit quicker because we don't have that much time left, 20 minutes or so. Jocelyn Edwards, here's my pick of the week, Marcel. She was an underdog, then she closes as a small favorite, but looked great. Dominant performance. I like her, man. Long strikes, good ground game, Marcel. I'm surprised Wu wasn't armbarred in the first round. That was pretty tight. What do you think of Jocelyn's performance in her debut?
Very good, man. I should have picked her. I really
regret that. You told me about her. I didn't even know who she was until you told me. And I'm like, wow, this girl's really good.
Yeah, man. But, you know, I thought Wu Yanan, more preparation time, the long flight for Edwards, you know. I thought that would do something to her, but she looked great, man. Very strong debut. I mean, what can you say? If you debut like this, you show your name. Very good. I was impressed with what she showed. That armbar was very tight. How long was she in that armbar? Like 3 minutes or something?
Yeah,
it was crazy.
It's been a while. Yeah, it was impressive.
Yeah, I really liked her debut. Yeah, and good pick by you, by the way.
Thanks. And I think that she could do really well at 135. Like they need contenders, right? I'm not saying she's going to fight for the belt, but you know what? That division's shallow where if she gets like 2 more wins by herself, she's right there in the top 10. So, you know, this win should probably get her ranked in the bottom end of the top 15. If it doesn't, then one more win. But I really like her, man. Next up, you know, a lot of people said this was fighting tonight. I don't think so. I would have either given it to the main event or to Condit and Brown. But it was a pretty enjoyable fight between the big boys. We had Justin Tafa and Carlos Felipe. I actually scored it for Tafa. I did give it to him. I did 29-28, but it was close. I wasn't complaining. What did you think of this fight? You think it was fighting tonight? I saw a lot of people saying that. I didn't think so. But what did you think of the matchup? Who did you score it for?
It wasn't fight of the night at all, man. I mean,
I don't know why people are saying that. It's just weird.
Because it wasn't for once a heavyweight non-top 15 fight where we fell asleep, you know, after the first round. Maybe that's why. But I mean, that was a good scrap. But I don't see that was way too untechnical, to be honest, to be a fight of the night, in my opinion. was close. Could have gone either way, in my opinion. I wasn't surprised Felipe got it. Would have been surprised if Tafa got it. We're very close. Carlos Felipe, yeah, if he wins, he always acts like he won the Super Bowl.
I know, this guy's hilarious, man.
Yeah. So what was actually a typical heavyweight fight, but a very entertaining one. You know what I mean? It was an entertaining one. It was remember when they got with those hats against each other and it's like a boxing match or something? Really weird. But
that's the thing. I think that maybe people the last 10 seconds were crazy. They just basically swung bombs. Come on, I mean that wasn't fight of the night. It was a good fight. Again, I thought Tafa edged it, but whatever. We're gonna get these comments from Daniel. He says Alessio versus Dana White. Sure, in the UFC video game, is Alessio in the game? I know Dana's.
I don't think so. No.
Maybe they'll put him in after this one. Probably not. Daniel says Jocelyn should fight Betch Correa. I sure, but I would hope the UFC is nice to Betch and it's like, you know what, you're a pioneer. We're going to give you someone a little bit easier to fight in your last fight.
Yeah,
she's got one fight left. Next
reboot the Wu Yanan fight.
Yeah, probably just do that. Ramazan Ameev defeats David Zawada split decision. I had it for Ameev. I actually said, like on the podcast, I was like, you got to take him by decision. That's the only way he wins a fight, Marcel. He doesn't know how to finish a guy in the UFC. But I thought he won. Zawada is very tough, obviously, very, very durable guy. But Ameev he's solid. His record in the UFC right now is 5-1. That is good, but he's a boring fighter. He has no finishes. What do you think of this guy?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, man. He is one of those Dagestani wrestling kind of type of guys who is actually very boring. Yeah, you got the other kind of guys who are also have that striking going on and that crazy power, but he doesn't have that, and he's really wrestling based more. So what I made it a close fight, but I think the right guy won. I had 29-28 for Ramazan Ameev.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with him, man. I don't think he's at all,
do they cut him? Do they actually release this guy? Because he's really boring, man. Honestly,
I don't
look at Habilov. I'm just saying, look at Habilov. Very similar guy. They let him go to Bellator. I know he's coming off a win, right?
Yeah, exactly. So maybe they match him up with somebody they think he will lose against, and then maybe they cut him. I don't know, but. Listen, man, in my opinion, you should never cut a guy with 5-1. They also did that with Elias Theodorou, who had a good record.
Very similar fighter in many ways.
Yeah, true. But you shouldn't do that, man. I mean,
I'm with you.
You as the market leader in MMA, you should have the best fighters. And if one of the best fighters is boring, I don't say he's the best fighter, but one of the better fighters is boring, then he's boring. I mean, you can still have him on a card. Put him on a card with some knockout specialists, and then you still have a good card. Yeah, then you have one less good fight. Whatever. That will always happen. You never have like 12 fights and all 12 will deliver. It's never happened. I'm
just saying, like, this guy's had 6 fights now. He has no finishes.
Yeah, true.
His last 7 fights have went the distance, including his fight in M1. Listen, the guy's great for making money because you can bet on him. You win every fight. I'm just saying, if you're Dana White and Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, you're looking at the middle or the welterweight division, and you're looking at cutting costs. Maybe you're looking at this guy and saying, hey, this guy's not really doing enough to really stay on the roster. So I think he'll get another fight. But if he loses, I think he could actually be cut. I think they'll start doing that for some guys because, they said 60 cuts. How many cuts have they made yet? Like maybe 10 or 20? Not many, right?
I don't know.
Maybe like 10. It wasn't much.
Who would you line them up against, Ramazan Ameev?
Well, I got to pull up the division. 1 second. I don't think I'd give him a ranked guy because, again, he hasn't finished anyone, so I don't think he deserves it. I think you either give him someone that's like kind of a grinding type wrestler as well, or you give him a prospect to see how he's good. See if he's good against. Now I'm looking at the division. Like, the thing is, I'm worried if you match him up with a guy like, for instance, Shavkat Rakhmonov or Sasha Tiknov, they would lose. I'm in the right division, right?
Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira.
Yeah, that'd be a fun fight too. But,
Chaos Williams.
That would be good. I would like that one. Sure. So there's fights because those are the kind of fights he should have because you need a guy who's going to push him, right? So Chaos would be a good fight because Chaos is going to go for broke.
Yeah.
Looking at some other guys, I'm not really sure Daniel Rodriguez would probably be a decent fight.
The winner of Munir Laziz against Warley Alves.
Sure, I guess you could. I don't know. I really like Munir. I want him to fight some more exciting guys, but we'll see. It's just, anyways, the fact that we're kind of struggling, Marcel, is proof that this guy it's hard to match up against, because if you're a UFC guy if you're a fighter in the welterweight division, why would you want to fight this guy so he can beat you by wrestling and make you look bad?
I mean, what about Sean Brady if he wins against Jake
Matthews?
To
be honest, why not? Because Sean Brady, I really like him too. But until that finished in his last fight, he was doing the same thing. So maybe that's the fight to do. And I like him, but he needs a bigger win in his career. So yeah, that'd be fun. But we'll see, Marcel. Again, guys, guys have to do what they have to do to win. I get it, but I'm just saying, he's had 7 fights actually, and the last 7 fights have gone the distance. And if you're the UFC, I don't think you like that. I really don't. You're looking at a guy like Brady or Khabib. People say Khabib's more. I don't think so. But he finished guys. Even Khabib used to finish guys when he came to the UFC. Kamal Shalarus, all these guys. So to me, it's just a guy that doesn't finish fights. And then if you're the UFC, I don't really think I want to keep him on the roster. That's just me. Here's what he says: Matthews, Brady, loser. They're fighting, right? Yeah, that's sure. I mean, why not? Actually, Jake Matthews is another similar guy. Kind of boring, right? Kind of just lays on top of you, Marcel. I get it. It's an effective way to win fights, Marcel. I'm just saying, as a fan, and if you're a matchmaker, do you really want to watch that? I'm not sure. Vanessa Mello defeats Sarah Morris. What an absolutely dog shit fight. One of the worst fights I've ever seen. Me and my fiance was there with me, and we were just laughing. She was laughing at the fight because she's like, why is she yelling when she punches the air? She wasn't even hitting her. I still was doing the hi. And listen, I get it. When I used to train, I'd hit the heavy bag and I'd hit pads. I would do that too. But not to the extent she does it, not to the extent Caitlin Chukagian does it, not to the extent Holly Holm does it, because they do it when they don't even hit anything. You're supposed to do it when you're making an impact too. When you're just hitting the air, Marcel, come on. So to me, that was a terrible fight. What do you think of that fight, though?
Oh man, and then you dare to be upset when you lose the decision.
You shocked.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Every second we talk about this fight is too much, man.
Yeah, let's move on. Okay, next, the last fight in the card, Austin Lingo defeats Jacob Kilburn. I thought he looked outstanding. Picks up his first win. Any other thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, man. Pretty much expected Lingo. I thought Lingo would knock him out in the first or second round. He almost did.
That guy's got a big chin, man. Holy crap, his chin.
Yeah, definitely. And a good win for Lingo, man. After his kind of disappointing UFC debut against Joseph Salon.
I was really disappointed there, and he looked good in this one. Daniel Edwards says the only way guys will accept fighting Embiid of coming off a loss. It's true. He says he felt sorry for the commentators having to watch Morris Mello. What a terrible fight. I remember when I was picking that fight, I'm like, who do I pick? Someone who's really not good, or someone who's really, really, really not good. To me, they're another 2 fighters that could be released. A lot of fans were saying cut them both. I think Morris is gone. I think that's the last fight we'll ever see in the UFC, Marcel. I don't think she's gonna fight again. That's it for this card. There's a little bit of news we'll talk about and some fight announcements, but we'll start with just let's go to your page actually, Marcel. You want to do a few fight announcements, Marcel?
Sure.
Let's do it. Okay. So we got 10 minutes left? Yeah, we got 10 minutes. Okay. I'm going to pull up Marcel's page. We'll just go through a few fights. Same as usual, Marcel. Don't give your pick, but just give me your thoughts. Now, I saw you post this one, Zubair Tugov versus Ricardo Ramos. Love this fight. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, fun fight, man. Both guys fought against Lerone Murphy. Ramos got knocked out, and Tugov draw against him. I thought Tugov won, but that's my opinion. Yep. Yeah, fun fight. I mean, stylistically, good matchup. Tugov has good striking. His ground game is pretty decent, and Ramos, we know his ground game is good, and his striking is not bad either. I can't give you my pick, so I won't. But don't. It's a fun fight, man. I'm looking forward to the stylistically fun matchup.
I was laughing at the Planet thing. I always laugh whenever I see that. But you know what? I thought that he should have beat Murphy, but I remember I picked Murphy against Ramos as an underdog. He knocked him out. He looked good. So interesting fight. Interesting, pretty close matchup. I like this guy, Guram Kutaladze versus Don Madge. I love this fight, man. These guys are both seriously good fighters. I thought Gurham looked pretty outstanding against Mateus Gamrot. Picked up a huge upset there, Marcel. And Don Madge, I don't remember last time he fought, but I remember he had the 2 knockouts over, or he had the Tay Edwards knockout was crazy. I think he beat ZM as well, but he doesn't fight that often. What do you think of this fight, though?
Yeah, it's another fun fight, man. I think Match looked good in his UFC fight so far, man. 2 wins, like you said. He stopped T. Edwards. T. Edwards was a guy who the UFC was very high on, and I actually expected a lot from him as well. But he didn't show it in the UFC. Maybe he was still too young. He still has to get some more experience.
Yep.
The ZM fight was good, was solid. Kutateladze, he really surprised me, man.
Yep.
I know he's a good fighter. I know that. I saw him fighting in Brave, but I didn't expect him to beat Gamrot. It was a split decision, was a close fight. I agree with the decision, by the way, that he won that fight. I know many people did. He actually thought he lost the fight against Gamrot.
Yep.
So he trains with Khamzat Chimaev, which is one of his main training partner, I think, at the All Stars Training Center. So fun fight, man. I say it again, fun fight. This is a good matchmaking. I'm really looking forward to this one. Plus, the March 13 card looked very good at this moment.
So I'm pretty sure him and Khamzat have the same barber because they literally have the same beard and the same haircut. So if they're training partners, they're probably going to the same barber too. By the way, look at this guy's look at his he's just so ripped. You can see the muscles on his rib cage. It's insane. This guy is. I thought he lost too, Marcel. To be honest, I thought he lost 29-28, but the fact he was like a plus 300 underdog and did that well was very impressive to me. But yeah, this guy's a savage, man. I just really like Madge. I think people are forgetting about him. Charles Jourdain versus Steve Garcia. Yeah, the Canadian. That's why I gave it a little heart, Marcel, because he's a Canadian guy. Wow, this picture of Steve Garcia, he looks really out of shape. Like, was this when he missed weight for that fight? It must.
Yeah,
it
was the short notice fight against Luis Pena.
Out of shape in this fight. Picture. I don't want to give a pick, but Jourdain's going to be a big favorite in this fight. There's no doubt about it, right?
Yeah, just his last two fights didn't went as he won. I think he lost a split against Feely and the draw against Kulibao. I think he won that fight, but yeah. Yeah,
he's solid. What else? It's official. Stipe versus Francis, UFC 260. Love the matchup. I think we have odds for this. Let me check what the odds are right now.
I think Ngannou is the favorite.
I think he's the favorite too. Let me just double check. Minus 175 Francis, Stipe plus 150. I'll be honest. I picked Stipe the first fight, and he pretty much got dominated after that first round, where he looked pretty good, and then just got tired. But it's a different fight. It's 3 years later, so I don't really know, Marcel. What's your thoughts on this one? Don't give me a pick. I honestly have no idea what we're going to pick in this fight, though, guys. I really have no clue. What do you think, Marcel?
It's the same, man. I think it will be this. It can be the same as the first, man. Ngannou comes out guns blazing. If he hits Stipe correct, he will knock him probably out. If he doesn't, Stipe will get the decision eventually, I think.
Stipe's hair looks really good in this picture, by the way. That's a good picture you got of Stipe. Yeah, I love that fight, though. What about this one? The big boys. You got Yorgan De Castro and Georges Dano. How is Georges Dano still in the UFC roster, Marcel? This guy hasn't fought in like 10 years.
Listen, man, I don't hate on fighters, but I fucking can't stand this dude. I really can't. I don't know if you saw his fights in the UFC. The first fight against Daniel Omilanchuk, he lost the first 2 rounds. Then the third round, he's trying to get him disqualified, and Omilanchuk is stupid enough to hit him an illegal shot. So he keeps laying on the ground. The referee said, "Okay, we stop the fight." He thought he won by DQ. It goes to technical decision, and Omilanchuk wins. The second fight, he fought Christian Colombo. It was in Hamburg. I was live there. He goes again. When he goes back, he goes sitting on a knee, so somebody hits him in the illegal shot. Colombo is also stupid enough to hit him in the illegal shot. He gets a point deducted, and he pulls out a draw in that fight. It's one of the most awful fighters I saw so far in the UFC, and I absolutely hope Jorgen De Castro will destroy him. Sorry, normally I wouldn't say something like this, but I absolutely hope that. I can't stand the dude. I remember I was at the Fighters Hotel in Hamburg, all fighters got attention from the fans, and he was sitting alone on the table. Nobody wanted to talk to him. So, I mean, that's all I want to say about this one. Maybe I'm a little bit hard here, but that's how I think about it.
That is so funny. I'm laughing so hard because I've had the same discussion with him in private. I can't remember who he was with, but a few years ago, me and some were joking around this guy. He hasn't fought in 5 years. How is he still on the roster? He literally hasn't fought since 2016. This is crazy. Yeah, I think De Castro probably just kicks him to death or something. Next fight. Oh, actually, I wonder how this guy's going to try to bitch out and get a DQ win, Marcel. How's he going to do this fight? What do you think
he's going to try again to sit on a knee and hope somebody hits him in the head or something, man. It's just for people who haven't seen his fights, if you really have nothing to do in your life, just like me, watch those fights on Fight Pad, because then you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Marcel's on, dude, I haven't laughed this hard in so long. That's so funny, Marcel. I love it. That's why I got Marcel on, because Marcel, he speaks the truth, man. He's like me, dude. He doesn't hold back. I love it. I mean, listen, I like the fight. Don't get me wrong. I like Volkanovski Ortega. Don't get me wrong, okay? I'm just saying, why didn't they wait 6 more hours or whatever to when Max did? Because I think at that point, everyone wants to see Max. But listen, Ortega is outstanding, man. He's a great fighter. And actually, I just watched a movie the weekend called The Tax Collector on Netflix with Shia LaBeouf, he's gone crazy too, by the way. But Brian Ortega was he's in the movie, so I didn't even know. I'm watching the movie and Brian Ortega's there. He plays like some gangster. It was pretty cool. So I really like Brian, man. He's got a good story, but Volkanovski, like, how do you really pick against him, like, in this fight? How can you?
Yeah, I mean, Brian Ortega is also on Netflix in that Cobra Kai series when he was younger. Okay. He playing Robbie Keane.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay.
No, just kidding, man.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that. I've heard of that show. I haven't seen it though. I don't have Netflix. When I go to my fiance, she has it, so I watch it there. I got other stuff to watch here.
No, I think he looks like an older version of Robbie Keane. That's what I mean. So I mean. It's a good fight, man. I mean, Ortega showed that he improved a lot since his Max fight, I think, in the fight against Korean Zombie. Everybody expected him to go to the ground. He beat him pretty much with the stand-up game, Volkanovski is so super underrated, I think, in the UFC. People don't give him credit for him being a champion. That's because probably the second fight against Max, because many people think Max won that fight. Yep. Doesn't mean Volkanovski isn't a good champion. I think he's a great champion. Looking forward to this fight. Ortega as a specialist definitely on the ground, so that's a real big challenge, I think, for Volkanovski in this one. And stand-up, man, if Ortega can do the same stand-up against what he did against Korean Zombie, this will be a really tough fight for Volkanovski. But we know Volkanovski can go with the flow, can take punches, can defend takedowns. So I'm looking forward to this fight, man. It's a fun matchup, and I agree with you. They should have waited maybe till Holloway for it.
No, the other thing I'll say is I agree with everything you said, about Volk. Listen, he wasn't the one who scored that fight,
That's true.
So it wasn't his fault that the judges sided with him instead of Max. I think a lot of us think that Max should have won the first 3 rounds. I think that a lot of judges, if the third round's close, they'll try to tie it up and try to make the fight more close than it actually is. I think you should just score round by round. That's the way you're supposed to score. But this guy, you can't forget he beat Aldo, Holloway, and Mendez. Like, he's like, the first fight with Holloway was a legitimate win. So he's a great guy, but a great fighter, and Ortega is too. So this is gonna be a good fight. These ones we gotta go through it quickly, but Gerald Meerscha versus Bartoff Fabinsky. Both guys really need to win here after. I think they both got stopped in the last fight, so they both got to win here, Marcel. What else we got? Chad Skelly versus Jamal Emmers. Interesting fight. Corey Sandhagen versus Frankie. That's official now, I guess. Cody Stamen versus Andre Ewell. Okay, so this is the replacement fight for Merab. I like this fight. I mean, listen, Andre's he's did well, so he deserves a step up, but it's a tough fight for him on short notice.
Definitely.
Modestus Bukalkis versus Michael Lexiak, good fights. Eric Anders, Darren Stewart, it's a fun one. Jamal Hill, Paul Craig, I like that one as well. Sung Woo Choi versus Colin Anglin, so these guys making his debut now, good. He looked good in a contender series, right? Oh, here we go, Nate Landwehr versus Julian Rosa. That should be a fun fight. That's a fight of the night right there. And Dan Ige, Ryan Hall, Cole Shelton broke that. Mr. Cole broke that fight. Great fight. And we talked about that. That's it. So, that's it for the fights. We got 2 minutes left, Marcel. Anything else you want to talk about that I forgot to talk about today? Like, as far as news goes, anything else you want to mention quickly?
I can't remember, man, if I had anything on the shelf. So no, man.
By the way, is that's so weird. So the Georges Ganho guy, he's from Syria, but he's not going to fight in Fire Island. It's going to be in Vegas. That's strange. Like, Georges Ganho, I'm just looking at his Tapology right now.
Yeah.
Like, so that fight's going to be in Vegas then, probably.
Yeah, but he lives in Germany, man. He has German.
Oh, he lives in Germany? Okay, that's right. Okay. That's it, I think, today, Marcel. So I appreciate you joining me, man, and recapping the card. Fun card to recap. If you want to join me Thursday, you're welcome to. Actually, sorry, no, you can't come Thursday. Never mind. What am I talking about? That's because we have another card this week. What am I talking about? Okay, so for the podcast Tuesday, tomorrow, me and Cole are going to preview the UFC Wednesday card, which is Chiesa Magny. So we'll be previewing it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thursday, 10 a.m., Cole's back with me previewing UFC 257. So Marcel, we got the 2 cards this week, but I'll get you on Monday if you want. We'll do the recaps for 257. And here's another question. Marcus asked how many fans were in attendance for Max Cater. What, 7,000 or something? Was that what it was? Or am I thinking too high?
I thought 2,000. But
probably 2,000. Sure. That makes more sense. Sorry, I don't even know where I got that number from. You know what it was? Actually, that was the football game. I think the Buffalo Bills had 7,000. I was watching. Yeah, I think it's like the capacity is 10% or something. So 2,000 makes sense, right? Any other fighters you hate, Marcel? We can save it for the next podcast. By the way, you mentioned your boy Stefan Struve earlier. You talked about guys who've blocked me on Facebook or on Twitter. There's a few. Dana, we talked about. Mr. Danny's right there, but he blocked me. Demetrius, Stefan Struve too. He's another guy. One of those guys. Because I had said something derogatory about his chin. I said his chin wasn't good. I didn't tag him in the tweet. I didn't tag him. I didn't tag him.
Someone else probably did.
Someone stitch tagged me and was like, "Yo, you're talking shit about Stefan." I was like, "Dude, I'm like, I can't like, because I can't remember what fight it was. I think it was the Mark Hunt fight. I was like, this guy should never fight again. He should never fight again. He really should have retired then, man. Like, look at his chin now; it's probably cracked in half." Anyways, follow me on Twitter at MMAOB Podcast, MMAOddsbreaker.com. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on iTunes, Spotify, Google, everywhere. I'm at bjpen.com, MMA Rings on net, and odds.com. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Michael Chiesa, Neil Magny preview with Cole Shelton. Thanks, Marcel. Thanks,